Hello everyone. For many people learning English, understanding the difference between the and a can be very difficult. So today, in a short video, I want to help you to have a much better understanding of how these work, and also towards the end of the video, I'm going to explain some exceptions as well. And after this, you won't be making many mistakes. So first, I'm going to explain the general idea, and then I'm going to give you a lot of examples with different situations to help you understand. So first off, when we say the, it usually means that the speaker and the listener both understand which thing you are talking about. So for example, if I want to write something, then I will just ask somebody for a pen. I will say, do you have a pen? Do you have a pen? Because when I say a pen, that means any pen. It means that pen or that pen or that pen. That pen doesn't matter. Any pen will do. Any pen is okay. I just want to write something. But if I say, do you have the pen? That means I'm talking about a specific pen, a particular pen. So for example, if I give you my pen and then next lesson I see you and I say, do you have the pen? And then we both understand, the pen he gave me in the last lesson. You see, so as soon as I say the pen, the other person should understand, the pen he gave me. So you see, it means we both have an understanding of which pen we are talking about. When I say a pen, it just means any pen. It doesn't matter. So another example, and this, I'll start with a mistake that a lot of my students make. So I hear this a lot when students say to me, last night I watched the movie. But again, when you say the movie, that means we should both understand which movie. And when you first say to me, I watched the movie, I don't know which movie you are talking about. So if you normally say to a native speaker, I watched the movie, they'll say, which movie? Did I recommend you a movie? Did we talk about a movie? What movie are you talking about? So normally you should just begin the conversation by saying, last night I watched a movie, because when you first say it, I don't know which movie you mean. You see, I don't know which movie. So it's not a specific movie. It's not a particular movie. And I don't understand which movie. So if I recommend that you watch a movie, if I tell you about a movie I like, and you go and watch that movie, next time you see me and you say, hey Liam, I watched the movie you told me about. You see, the movie you told me about, the movie you recommended. And now we both understand which movie. I understand exactly which movie you're talking about. Okay, this next example is a bit of a different situation, but it's still the same concept. It's still the same idea. So when I tell somebody my job, I say, I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher. Because I am one teacher of many, many teachers. You know, there are many teachers in the world, and I'm just one of them. So I say, I am a teacher. But if I'm in a classroom teaching, let's say, for example, it's a one-to-one lesson. So there's one student and one teacher. If somebody comes into the room and they know that there is a teacher in this room, they know there is one student and one teacher, then they will ask, who is the teacher? Because again, it's a specific teacher. It's not one teacher from the whole world. It's the teacher in this room, in this classroom. So they'll say, who is the teacher? And I'll say, I'm the teacher. You see? So in this situation, there's one student, one teacher. I'm the teacher in this classroom. But normally when I tell people my job, then I just say I'm a teacher, just one of many, nothing special. And in a similar way, when you are asking somebody for specific information, or you're asking them about a specific topic that we should both understand, then again, we use the. So you should say to somebody, if you see somebody in trouble, then you say, what is the problem? Because you can see they are in trouble and you can see they have a specific problem. Then you say, what is the problem? Because it means the problem in this situation that you are dealing with. If you said, what is a problem? Then they could give you a list of any problems that exist in the world, like problems that are not connected to this situation. So connecting to this situation now, then I need to say, what is the problem? Okay, and before I explain some exceptions, so before that, I want to talk about some reasons why you might hear the with many words every time you hear the words. So for example, you'll usually hear people say the world, and that is because there is only one world that we live in. Or so when somebody says blah 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 the world, it means this world that we live in. So we can all understand which world we are talking about. In a similar way, if you say the moon, that means our moon. The moon that goes around our world is the moon. There are moons on other planets, other planets in the space. There are other moons. But when we talk about our moon, we say the moon. So we all understand it's the one in, our situation, basically the one that's going around our world. And this is the same when we say the Olympics, because there is only one event that is called the Olympics. So there is not another Olympics. There's not something else called the Olympics. There's only one event that is the Olympic Games. So we always say the Olympics. And it's the same with things like the Eiffel Tower, because again, there's only one Eiffel Tower. So it's the same concept. When you say the Eiffel Tower, again, we both understand which Eiffel Tower because there is only one. Okay, and to finish off, I want to talk about some exceptions. And this part can be a little bit tricky and a little bit confusing. But I think from what I've noticed, because I've thought about this a lot, I think it is usually big public places. So what do I mean? For example, the train station. So you might hear a lot of people say, I'm going to the train station. And, earlier I said usually the means a specific one. So if I'm talking about something like a cafe, there are many cafes. So normally I would just say, I'm going to a cafe. I'm going to a cafe. Again, like the other examples, if I said I'm going to the cafe, then we should both understand which cafe. So if I go to the same cafe every day, it's my local cafe, and I always go to this cafe, and you know about this cafe, when I say I'm going to the cafe, then that would be okay, because you think, it's the cafe that he always goes to. We'll both understand which cafe. But usually, if you don't know which cafe I mean, then I should say I'm going to a cafe, because you don't know which cafe I'm talking about. But with these exceptions, with these special cases, for example, the train station, you don't need to understand which train station. And this is used a lot with a lot of big public places. So for example, we usually say, I'm going to the train station, I'm going to the park, I'm going to the hospital, I'm going to the library, I'm going to the police station. So these kind of big public places, but you don't have to be talking about a specific one. I think The reason for this is because usually these big public places, there's kind of one that is closest to you. And I guess usually when people say I'm going to the train station, usually means like the closest one, or I'm going to the hospital probably means your closest one or the regular one that you visit. I mean, don't think about it too much, but just remember that people use the for a lot of big kind of public places. So if it's a restaurant or a cafe, then it would just be I'm going to a cafe or a restaurant, unless they know which one you're talking about. But with these big like train station, police station, hospital, these people will put the, and there's actually no reason for it. So you can say I'm going to a train station, but it would usually sound more natural just to say the train station. And then also this is similar with public transport. So with, again, kind of a public facility, people will say, I'm going to catch the train, or I'm going to get the train, I'm going to get the bus. And again, it's because it's kind of public facility, this public thing. So if you're talking about a taxi, which is, a private business, then we don't say I'm going to get the taxi. We say I'm going to get a taxi. If you say I'm going to get the taxi, again, it needs to be one that we understand. So if there's one right there and I say I'm going to take the taxi, not the bus. So again, if you say the, we both need to understand. So it's this kind of strange exception with kind of public things. So yeah, the hospital, the train station, the bus, the train. And these exceptions are a bit confusing, but if you just keep listening to English and reading English, you'll start to get used to which ones people put the, and it will just become normal for you. Okay, that's all I have to say about the and a. The exceptions at the end might have been a bit confusing, but I hope today you understood the main concept or the main idea. And that is when you say a, it means anyone, any pen, any book. It doesn't matter. It's not specific. And the other person doesn't understand exactly which one you mean. But when you say the something, the other person should know which one you're talking about. So if you usually say to a native speaker, do you have the book? If they don't know which book, they'll be confused and they'll say, which book? The book? Did you give me a book? Did I give you a book? What are you talking about? So if it's something that you both understand, then you can say the book. Okay. So if it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you can get an alert when I make new videos. If you like this video, please hit the like button and comment to let me know what you think, or if you have any questions, or if there's any advice that you'd like to give other people learning about the and because it can be a very hard topic to understand. But don't worry, I'm sure you'll all get used to it in the end. So thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all back here next time.